We're live, but Dr. R's not here. Hang on one second. Let me just fix this. Yeah, my fault. I got a little hung up. I had to make a couple of stops on the way here, and I think he was here and left. I should check my phone. Well, yes, a text from Dr. Art. Are you going to make it tonight? Yes, I made it, Dr. Art. I'm sorry. He may come back. I don't know. But welcome, everybody. Mexican Spec, I got the package. Thank you. That was so awesome. So Mexican Spec sent me a box of Mexican Tang, which is off the chain. It's completely different than American Tang. There's like 100 different flavors, and it's like super concentrated. It's really excellent. Thank you so much. I'll be tanging that stuff for a while. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Nathan McCree, Chongo, what's happening? 80 Cobra Guy, Joe K, War Ghost. I left the X's out. Charlie Momo, what's happening, man? John Carl, Willie, what's going on, brother? Oscar Gonzalez, Tim Ferguson, Thunderbird 68, Scoop, Road Choker. Man, we got a lot of people in here tonight. Let's see. Dave's Garage, what's happening? Joe K, did the Impala spiders scare Dr. Art? Nothing scares Dr. Art. Are you kidding me? He's like the Red Baron. He's nuts, right? No, nothing scares him. No, seriously, Mexican Spec, thank you. Fuzzy, what's happening, Fuzzy? Broke Joker, God, I love that 67 Impala. Maybe not the one you're working on, but in general, I agree with you. I think they're great. You know, here's the thing with Chevys, especially like older Chevys like that. I'm a Mopar guy. You know, people know me as like, okay, that's Tony the Mopar guy, right? But through the course of my life, I've worked on more Chevys. I've put together more Chevy engines than I ever have Chrysler engines. You know, by a fair margin. I just happen to love Mopars, but yeah, I mean Chevys are like it's old home to me. You know. Scoop, I just watched Tony feed a Chevy a quart of trans fluid. Yeah. Joe K. Okay, let me try that again. Can Dr. Art come in and scare the spiders away if he wants to? Let's see. It'll be interesting to see what color you choose for Sunday's live. Tony, I'm sorry, there was only one strawberry. I had a grape tonight. The grape was excellent. It was really good. And then Fubar is in the house. What's happening? Something's weird here at the camera. Let me lower this a little bit. Hang on. Is that better? Yeah, that seems a little better. Okay. Wyatt Dixon, Tony, have you ever owned a square body Chevy or GMC truck? I have not. I've worked on countless of them, but I've never. Yes, Dr. Art is in the house here in spirit. He was there, and then I was not. Yeah, well, he usually gets here around 6:30 or so. So I guess when I didn't roll up at exactly like 7, he was like, he's done. I don't blame him. So, but anyway, yes, Dr. Art, I'm sorry about that. My fault. I should have thrown you a message or something, but I didn't realize what time it was, and I had to make a couple of different stops on the way here. So, Mexican Spec, you drink strawberry and grape. I alternate flavors for the morning. Dude, it's completely different than American Tang. American Tang, you literally have to use half the jar to make like a decent cup. That stuff is like super concentrated as you can. It's a small package, so just make it to me like in a regular glass. So she brings me in a regular glass, and it's dense. She says this stuff is not like the regular Tang. So she ended up having to like dilute it by like 25%, 50%, and then it was like, and it was still really strong. So yeah, that was very enjoyable, man. Thank you so much. I see Fuzzy says my 66 Barracuda is officially alive and running again. Today was a good day. Congratulations, man. Anytime you can get one of these old relics up and running is a great day. T-Bone found a pristine 79 Volare Slant 6. Congratulations. Your video is going to be confidence to tackle it as a daily driver. Awesome, brother. That's our job. That's what we're here for. Chongo, any updates on Scribbles? I haven't touched Scribbles in like a week. It's been sitting on the side of the shop over here. It's got a flat tire right now. I had to get coffee on the way in. I was like falling asleep. I tried to take a siesta today, right? That wasn't going to happen. Winnie had other ideas, and so she was yeah. So like I'm a little. Abel D, Tony, have you been playing the violin for David Freiberger? Motor Trend is dead. Motor Trend's been dying for a long time, and one of the reasons that I started doing YouTube, is because at that point, Motor Trend had put Roadkill behind a paywall, and I saw the handwriting on the wall at that point. Because since the early I was heavy in the magazine business in the 1980s, and then in the 1990s I would pop in and out of it. Okay, and in the 90s, these private equity firms were starting to gather things up, so they started buying up all of these different publishers. So I saw the consolidation of the business evolving over the last 30 years. And I knew print was obviously dead. There was no bringing that back once you got past like the mid 2000s, 2010, 2020, like that, or 15. But when they put Roadkill behind a paywall, I says, okay, this is where the consolidation implodes. And it's just a matter of time before that's all gone and everybody's going to be in YouTube. So that's when I got into YouTube. I've been going at it since. And what's happened now with Motor Trend canceling all of their shows, I've been waiting. They're all coming in to YouTube now. As far as Freiberger goes, oh man, how can I say this? I have no. He doesn't like me, and I'm not too crazy about him. But I do give him a lot of respect for what he's done. I respect his talent. I respect his knowledge. And I wish David the best of luck. I honestly do. He's a family man. He's got a family to support, and I hope that YouTube works out for him. That doesn't mean I like him. You know what I mean? But I do sincerely wish him the best. That's that. Let's see. Anthony 89, you've helped me with my many projects. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. That's what I do. I try to do that. Thunderbird 16, Tony, how do you take your coffee? Milk and sugar. A little same color as my skin, right? And a little on the light side, right? Or a little on the sweet side, I should say. So like this size here with like 6 sugars. 7. War Ghost. Tony just passed on a non-running 440 66 New Yorker with power everything on autopilot. Guy wanted 4K, but had a rusted vinyl roof. Talk about the autopilot systems. You're talking about cruise control? I mean, I'm not familiar. I know, oh God, someplace in the back corner of my head, there's something about what you're talking about, but I'm not sure exactly what it entails. Bro Joker, did you see Tony Angelo is building a Fox body Mustang with an Aston Martin V12? Well, that's different. It's gonna be nose heavy, man. That might be a handful. Well, he likes those drift cars. I mean, there you go. That'll drift. Let's see. Eric Swenson, you just got done watching the last episode on the Impala. Oh, but wait, there's more. Because Ducky came over. I had just finished. While I was shooting the last sentence or two of that video, Ducky was walking up the driveway. So I explained to him what happened. I showed him everything. And I said, what do you think you want to do with this thing? there's a surprise. You haven't seen the last of that thing. And it's going to be very, very interesting. Ducky has some pretty interesting plans for that vehicle. So, yeah, we're not done with it. We're done with it for the time being. I'm just going to leave it sit for a little bit. But definitely not done with that vehicle. You guys are going to love what's going to happen with it. The Frog Feeder, $4.90. Thank you for the super chat, the Frog Feeder. Don't call me sir. Just, yeah, Uncle Tony's fine. I have a question about the brakes on my truck. I started the job Sunday thinking it'd be quick, but I ran into a couple of issues. Okay. What are the issues? I'm going to wait to see what he says there. Stephen Machurik, any secrets to using the 3-stone style hones? Secrets? No, just the only thing you really need to know for sure is that the grit of the stone that you're using matches the rings. So just talking in rough terms, a coarse stone for cast rings, a fine stone for stainless or moly rings. That's really all you need to know. Let's see. Broke Joker, I don't know about you, but I love the 67 Impala 4-door more than the 2-door. I've said it 1,000 times, okay? To me, life is way too short to spend time counting doors. I don't know why anybody would bother doing all of that, going through that trouble. They're all cars. I dig it just the way it is. It's pissing me off. Hang on. Is that better? Boy, that's more centered. Okay. Let's see. You love the 66 2-door cars, bro. I love them all. It doesn't make any difference. 957, Mike. What weight oil do you use in Bottle Rocket? I use a Quaker State 5-weight synthetic. Okay, the Frog Feeder. The truck uses a retainer key, not a retainer washer for the spindles. One wheel is almost about to fall off. Took me 3 days to figure the part out, how it goes in. It's not on either side of my truck. Dude, I'm not sure what you're talking about. First off, what kind of truck is it? It's a little red piece of tin that goes in the groove on the axle tube. Can anybody help him with that? Because I'm not sure, bro. What year truck is it, Frog Feeder? Wait for him to get back there. Robert Blecker, Detroit Lake here. Welcome, Robert. It's a 92 W250 diesel. Whew. So it's a free. Oh, Danny. Okay, so it's free floating hubs. That's a free floating full floater hubs. I said free. Talking about the metal locking cap that goes over the nut. That's probably what he's talking about. But I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Boomer is saying the red piece is a retainer. Okay, you got people helping you out here, Frog Feeder. It doesn't use 2 nuts with the washer that has tabs like normal trucks do. Well, then what does it have? What keeps the nuts from coming loose? Because there's always a jam nut and then the tabs that you fold over. Greg Rose, UTG Curious, what part of the US are you in? I am just south of Nashville, Tennessee. Originally from New York City. I moved down here 21 years ago. It'll be 22 years coming up. Yeah, frog feeder. Have you looked at it for an exploded view of just Google that assembly, right? And an exploded view, and you should have a whole diagram that's going to show each, the order that the parts go in and the name of each part. Okay, Dave. Dave is saying the 1958 Chrysler Autopilot was, of course, just a cruise control. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Was there something else in there that either dimmed lights or turned lights on, turned lights off? Because I kind of remember that. I also remember something about speed warning, but I'm not. I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank. Shoehorn Jackson, Tony, I saw your video on painting the inside of an engine. Great video. My question is, would it be better not to paint the outside of the engine block for heat distribution? No, it doesn't care. It doesn't care. And that thing, if I paint it on black, is nonsense. That doesn't make any difference. Once it's not dealing with, the light, the color doesn't make any difference anymore. Okay, Frog Feed is saying, I've looked and looked. It's not a common thing, apparently. And geez, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Broke Joker, did you ever snowmobile? And what snowmobiles have you had? I think I rode a snowmobile once, and like, I hate the cold so much. Like, you have no idea, right? That, like, I just no, just no. I don't care how much fun they are. I don't like the cold. I don't like being cold. I don't like bundling up. I don't like anything like that. So if it involves any weather condition less than, let's say, 60 degrees and sunny, I'm miserable. I'm miserable. So yeah, no snowmobiles. Wargos is saying it would adjust the throttle linkage to be stiffer when you hit your desired top speed. Interesting. AD Cobra guy, UT, is there a minimum safe operating temperature? That's a good question. I've never heard that question before. Excuse me. I like to use restrictor plates and control the temperature with electric fan thermal switches, but in the winter, sometimes it gets down to 140 or so on the freeway. Okay, first, you're throwing away power, all right? According to Bill Jenkins, right? This was something he said, oh God, way back. I think it was in his first book. But according to Bill Jenkins, an engine makes optimum power at the boiling point of water, which is 212 degrees. So ideally, you want the block and the heads to be 212 degrees. Now, the temperature of the pistons and the internal parts is going to be different because they're not subjected to they're cooled basically by oil, and they run substantially hotter than the temperature that you're seeing on the gauge. The temperature you're seeing on the gauge is an indication of the temperature of the castings. So the casting, the cylinder head. So you want, for optimum performance, you want the cylinder head to be at approximately 212 degrees. Call it 200, call it 220, someplace in that range. Running at 140, you're not getting enough vaporization of the fuel. So the fuel comes in as atomized, okay, through the carburetor or the fuel injector. It's atomized. And then when it hits the hot parts of the intake runners and the cylinder head and the back of the intake valve, it vaporizes. Whatever atomized fuel comes in contact with hot surfaces vaporizes. Well, if you're only seeing 140 degrees at the casting, that's not enough to vaporize fuel. So your efficiency is going to drop. And ideally, you want a mix. I couldn't even really guess what the percentage is. Maybe it's, let's call it 50-50. You want a 50-50 mix of vaporized gas and atomized gas for quick burn and then extended burn, because the vapors like quick and the atomized portions burn long. So there's your power, duration of burn. You're giving away efficiency. Frog feeder, I appreciate the advice. That's how stupid these retainers are. Nobody freaking knows about them. Uncle Tony, when do my t-shirts ship out? Kathy Bananas handles all of the merch. If you put in an order, it usually ships within 2 or 3 days of getting the order. Sometimes if it's an odd size, like a 4X or something like that, or actually sometimes even common sizes that aren't in stock, she has to wait a day or two for them to come in. But if you order, they should be on their way. Thank you. Spitfire Mike, did I fire Art? No, I didn't fire Art. Art got here before I did. I didn't check my phone. I didn't realize what time it was. I was running late enough that he just gave up and went home. He only lives a couple of miles from here. So, no, I didn't fire him, but I screwed up. Judge Fed 426, working on a timing belt for a 92 Daytona IROC. The camshaft sprockets are really rusty. Think they may be okay or not. I knocked the rust down. That's what I said. Just knock the rust down. The timing belt isn't going to, I mean, don't run a timing belt on surface rusty thing, but knock it down on like a wire wheel or something, and then don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Frogfeed, you're looking forward to the shirts. Got a Dodge quote, one from my buddy. He's a Ford guy. Dude, we have sold so many of those. Greg Rose, been watching you for a few weeks. You've really helped me to understand carbs. Well, awesome. That's what we're here to do, man. That's why we do those videos, to help guys, who try to learn that stuff, give them a heads up, or a hand up, I should say. Did I quit smoking? Yeah, I quit. Oh God, it's been rough. I quit probably, I don't know, about a month ago now. And it's tough. It's tough because I went cold turkey. I was like, I am not going to smoke anymore. That's it. It's a disgusting habit. I'm tired of smelling like an ashtray. So I quit. And it's not easy, but you can do it too. If I can quit smoking, bro, I've smoking since I'm 10 years old. That's 52 years. I'm smoking for 52 years. And I was able to quit it cold turkey, just completely walk away from it. And if I can do it, so can you. One of the ways that I quit is by taking tobacco and putting it in paper and like rolling it up so it's like a cigarette, and then just lighting it so that smoke comes off the end of it. And sometimes I suck on it, you see, and what it does is it pacifies my brain. My brain thinks I'm smoking, right, but I'm actually not. Yeah, you have to do stuff like that. Uh, 20% motion. I like a cigarette after turkey. What's the matter with during turkey? Chris. Hi, Tony. Hi, Chris. My 66 Tornado has a loud blower AC fan, and the manual says you have to pull the hood to replace it. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Sheesh. I don't recall. But yes, good news for you. Okay. If you can access the back part of the blower motor, I believe you can. Give me a second now. I'm trying to picture this on a 66. I can't picture it on a 66 Tornado. But this is like a universal thing for those older heater motors, the blower motors. If you can access the back of it, okay, there's the center where the bearing is, and there's like a nipple. You do is you drill a small hole through the nipple Okay, and then you use like a 3-in-1 oil, like a light oil, and get that oil into the hole. And then once you've got it all done, clean it up really good and put a dab of silicone over the hole, and that'll quiet it up. Scoop, I asked my friend if he had ever tried smoked fish. He said he didn't know which end to light. True story. I wouldn't know either. I mean, I would think the tail, right? Because the tail would seem to be about the most flammable part. You try to light its head. I mean, there's not a lot of liquidy things in the head. So I would light the tail. Dave says, I got my t-shirt and the mug, but the Alfredo was terrible. No, dude, don't tell me that. No wonder you were giving it away. I love that Alfredo. Ah, geez, I'm sorry. Huh. Oh. Mexicans, yes, but that means you were kissing the fish. Dude, we all do strange things, right? Bill Trader, I'm building a 400 Pontiac. How can I improve the cold start? Do I need the thermal vacuum switch for the vacuum advance? No, you don't need that. That's an emissions thing. Run the vacuum advance on that directly to non-ported vacuum. Improve the cold start. I don't know. You have to be more specific. I mean, cold start is more of a choke adjustment than anything else. Am I going to Waffle House for Thanksgiving? I work at Waffle House. That's my real job. This is something I do just, to feel and look important. But I work third shift at the Waffle House. Scattered, smothered, chunked, right? Yeah, I'm there, man. I'm there. Scoop is saying it's probably better than the other end mix. He's right. I mean, would you rather? I mean, fish mouth or fish ass? I mean, which one would you rather? Okay, I'll take the mouth, guy. I'll take the mouth. The frog feeder. I had a chance this weekend to get a running 71 Demon. I did the responsible thing for the first time in my life when I passed it up. Mopar Man 67 is 12 and a half before top dead center. Oh, you retracted it. I didn't even get a chance to finish reading the question. It already got retracted. Web Films, working on a 1983 944. Need to fix wiper motor. Any thoughts? Dude, I have no experience with those. Oh, God. Maybe somebody on here does, though. Who can help? Web Films out. 83 944 needs to fix the wiper motor. Bill Trader, straight manifold vacuum or the ported one? I'm running a Q-Jet. The Pontiac uses non-ported vacuum. Doesn't matter whether it's a quadrijet or anything else. Oh, okay. Mopar Man is 12.5, 12 and a half before top dead center, a good base timing for a 67 440 K code engine. 12 and a half degree. Yeah, start there. That may actually be a little conservative. You may want to add a degree or two to it. But yeah, I mean, that's as good a starting point. It's better than like 5 degrees before. Okay, Rob61J. Harley Evo runs and idles fine, except at operating temperature on hot days. Idle drops below 500 RPM and the oil light comes on. Then stalls come on. There's no pressure. Then stalls coming off idle at red lights, etc. When bike cools down, it's back to normal. Zero's in the house. What's happening, brother man? Okay, so gets hot, stalls coming off idle at red lights, etc. It's fat. Okay, so the oil light's coming on because the RPM is dropping so low that it's not generating enough pressure. It's not spinning fast enough. And of course, when it's hot, the oil thins out. You're describing something that's got, I don't know what carburetor you have on there, but you've either got the idle mixture adjusted too fat, or you've got too big of a pilot jet in there. Because when it's cold, it wants the extra fuel. The hotter the engine gets, the less volume of fuel it needs. So if you're running fat, you've got the idle mixture turned way out, or you've got too big of a pilot jet in there. What's happening is when it gets hot, it's choking. There's too much gas. Take away some fuel and see how it runs. King Shiloh is 38 degrees before top dead center. Too much total timing for a 305. Probably. That seems excessive for a small bore engine. Is it okay? So, are you certain that it is 38? Is that an accurate number? Does it not ping? Because I would say 34 is about the happy max for something like a 305, a sub 4-inch bore engine. But you see, it's dependent on so many different factors. But you asked if 38 before is too much total. It seems excessive. It seems like more than it should have, or more than it would be happy with. Let's see, Thunderbird 68. Is it safe to assume that putting a carb on a larger engine than the jets should be changed out for bigger ones? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Again, just like the other question, so many different variables, right down to the type of exhaust that it has. I mean, way too many variables. The only way to know if the jetting is accurate is to run the plugs. You could use an air meter, measure it that way, or read the plugs. The plugs. Well, I go by plugs. That's the way I've always done it. Read the plugs. But just because you're swapping carbs doesn't, bigger or smaller, doesn't necessarily, the jetting isn't going to be right for the engine. Okay, I got to take this off because it's getting hot in here. Let's see. Lux 1970 Rebel Machine. Cool car. Just finished winterizing my Survivor Rebel Machine. Sad that I can't drive it in the winter. Love the content of your show. Spring is coming. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I love that car. That's an awesome car. I had to kill that before it got cold. Okay. Kathy Banana's on here. Why am I alone? I got here late. I made a couple of stops, and I got here, and Dr. Art, I guess he figured that I wasn't going to come, so he took off home. Let's see. 80 Cobra Guy UT. What the heck is with the distributors with dual vacuum? I've never used one, but always wondered what they're for. That was an emission control deal that they used through the middle 70s, right to around the early 1980s. Ford used them. They were common on like Hondas and Toyotas. Lots of them use that. It's a non-performance thing. It's done strictly for emission control. Yeah, don't just yeet the thing and throw a regular one in there. Robert Ray, Tony running late. It's surprise. Okay. Let's see. Ninja Mouse. Tony, I know how to adjust hydraulic lifters, valve lash on a stock Chevy 350. Is it the same for a Ford 302 stock 69 Mustang? On the Ford, the rockers bolt out to a pedestal. No, it's different. Andrew Button, I wonder if that dual vacuum advance setup would fit on a dual plug Hemi. No, why would you do that? What? No, listen, vacuum advance is a highway economy thing. That's what vacuum advance is there for. It's not for performance, right? A true race engine would never have vacuum advance, period. The end. You set your initial and you have your total. And then whatever curve, if there's a curve, sometimes you just lock them out. But you would not have vacuum advance on a true high performance engine. Vacuum advance is for cruising speed, like 50, 60, 70 miles an hour on the highway, very light throttle. That's when the vacuum advance is just doing its thing, and it's making the engine run more efficiently. There's no question. There's a benefit to it in there. But for a race 426 Hemi, no, it's exact. No, not at all. Rail rockers, yes. Mopar man, I'm surprised poured trans oil down that Chevy small block. I thought you advised us not to do that in a previous video. No, bro, I've actually done videos on that exact thing and how to do it. Now, now you got to go out. So you younger guys, right? Anybody who's, let's say, under 50, right? Under 40 or so, don't remember the old gas. Now, the old gas was formulated so it wouldn't evaporate. And the compound, however it was formulated, would form varnish and gum. It would leave varnish and gummy deposits on things. And very, very common back in the day was that varnish, the gum, would gather on the valve stem. Okay. And eventually it would keep the valve from closing completely. So instead of the valve like sitting firmly against the seat, right, it just kind of like hovered just above the seat. And when that would happen, you would get exactly what that Chevy was doing, that pop, 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 pop through the carburetor. So by pouring ATF or Marvel Mystery Oil or any other solvent type of oil down the carburetor as you rev the gas, what it does is it breaks that gum that's around the valve stem and allows it to close completely. So that was like literally, that was like almost any car on the road, once it got to around 100, 120, 130,000 miles like that, there would be so much of that stuff built up on the valve stem that was a very common problem. That's what that's for. That's why you would do that process for. But nope, that wasn't the issue with that car. Fun with cars, I use trans oil in intake to store engine, hide detergent. It can't hurt anything. It can't hurt anything. Mexican spec, did the neighbors appreciate the cloud of smoke? I don't know if they saw it or not. It was under the hood, just revving the motor. It did make a big cloud. There was a part of it that I did. I edited out a big section of. You should have seen. Okay, I made such a freaking mess because the fan was blowing, right, and I'm holding the camera, right. Now normally I do this myself, right, and you rather and pour, okay, and you can kind of like block the wind with your hand, but the way I was positioned to hold the camera between the car and my chest and keep the shot, I couldn't quite pour the transmission fluid and rev the engine at the same time. And it started blowing all over the place. And then I kind of moved, and then like next thing I know, there's transmission fluid flying everywhere. And the GoPro got covered with transmission fluid. Everything I covered with transmission fluid. I made a total mess of stuff, and I edited all of that out. I mean, just because it was so ridiculous. But yeah, you missed that part of it. You missed that part of it. The frog feeder watered down the carb significantly helped my new 73 forklift a few weeks ago. What a basket case that was. Well, that's to break carbon. Water down the carburetor breaks carbon. Let's see. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up in you guys' conversations. Water doesn't compress. Don't use too much. Yeah, don't take your garden hose and just shove it down the carburetor and start revving the motor. That's a bad idea. Take a water bottle, okay? I have a water bottle. Take a water bottle and trickle it, okay? And you'll hear, right, when it starts to like gurgle down a little bit. I mean, explain to you, engine doesn't want to run on water. So when you hear it start to gurgle down a little bit, give it gas and keep the trickle up. And you could use a whole bottle of water, like you can't hurt it, right? But don't just pour it. You know what I mean? Don't just take a glass of water and go boom, like that, right? Trickle it in at a fairly rapid pace while you give it gas, and you have zero chance of hydraulicing the engine. Yes, Jason Automotive, we're talking about decarbonizing the water trick. Yes. Grease Belly Garage uses a pump-up sprayer. Now you see, I don't know about that, okay? Because the Grease Belly Garage, the fine mist that's going to come from that, wouldn't that kind of like evaporate as soon as it hit any hot surface? So instead of the water becoming steam as it hits, let's say, because what you want is you want the liquid water droplets to hit the back of the intake valve and the combustion chamber, okay, and turn to steam there. And that's where it steam cleans the parts. The water hits the carbon, it turns to steam and it breaks the carbon up. So if you're using a sprayer and putting a fine mist in there, wouldn't the fine mist become steam before it actually hit the parts that it needed to steam clean? I don't know. I'm only asking because I never thought of that. And you're the first person I've ever saw say that. So I don't know. I'm asking. Lux Rebel Machine. I'm 71, and it's so funny hearing you give these simple advice tips. I did myself over the years. It's great teaching the youngins. Have a great Thanksgiving. You too, man. Yeah, you know, there's so many things that we used to do back in the day that just it's completely lost. But then again, a lot of the reasons that we did those things aren't really valid anymore. But yeah, it's neat dredging up these antique, you know what I mean? Gap it with a matchbook cover. Okay, you're saying Grease Belly Garage, it works for me, but I use a strong stream. Okay. Mopar Man, what happened to your cool 66 Charger? I love that ride. It's at the house on the driveway. I haven't driven it. We took it to the Mo Party back in September, and it hasn't moved since. Joe K, would the Italian tune-up suffice to break up most of the residue? Yeah, that's the purpose of it. Green Bean, did you already talk about the death of roadkill show? Yes, I did. Let's see. Greg Rose, thank you for what you do. Thank you for watching. I was born in '86, and oh God, so young. I know you're not young, right? But to me, you are. You're a kid. You really help guys that haven't messed with pre-1990 cars. Okay, I just got a Windows update here. Tavo, yeah, you never seen an OBD scanner telling you to pour water down the intake. Because you probably shouldn't. If you're into the OBD years and that means you're into the catalytic converter years, that decarboning of the engine can clog the cat, which is something that we should talk about, because pouring, doing the unsticking of valves with the transmission fluid, or doing the decarbonization with the water. If you've got a catalytic converter in your exhaust, those particles, first off, the transmission fluid will coat the catalytic converter, and it'll stay there, and the thing will never get hot enough, so it'll kill the cat. Or the carbon, and it breaks loose from, let's say, the back of the valves or the combustion chambers, and hits the cat. Well, it stops there and it doesn't go any further. So yes, if you're running through a catalytic converter, do not do those things. Frog Feeder saying, Uncle Tony has helped so many people he could never possibly know. Dude, as long as I know I helped one person, you see what I'm saying? It's like, that's all I need to know. I know that if I know that I helped one person get through a problem or solve an issue, or have an epiphany, I made the light go off in their head. Okay, that's enough for me. That's fine. One person is plenty. Marion Hill, Iacocca, genius or crook? Oh God, I have a hard time seeing him as a crook. I don't really see him as a genius, but I definitely don't see him as a crook. How would you get that? Because of the deals he made with the government? I don't see that as being a crook. The guy did what he could do to save the company. I mean, there's a lot worse out there. King Shiloh, I'm 16 and you helped me work on my 78 project car. Excellent. Excellent. Keep at it, brother, man. Keep at it. Green Bean, thank you for the super chat. So the correct order is water the engine, seafoam the engine, oil change, new spark plugs. Let me think about that. Water the engine to decarbonate. Yes. Seafoam the engine. I don't know why you're seafoaming the engine. Is there a specific reason? Oil change. You could change the oil after you do everything, right? And new spark plugs. Yeah, that sounds about reasonable, but I don't know. I'm not saying seafoam is bad, but if you're using the seafoam as a top end lubricant. Yes, okay, that would be correct. Water the engine to break up the carbon, because if you use seafoam or transmission fluid or anything like that and then try to break up the carbon, what you're going to have is oil-soaked carbon inside the engine that's not going to want to steam clean. So yes, decarbon first, then degum, then change the spark plugs. That would be the order. And you can throw an oil change in there too, but really, in theory, if everything is healthy, nothing you do on the top end of the engine is going to affect the oil. If the engine's really sloppy, a lot of blow by, weak rings, that type of thing, then some of this stuff's going to get in the oil. But if the engine's healthy, there's no reason to. Hags Scale Autoworks. Hey, Tony, my wife is a fan of Supernatural. So now I didn't even know the show existed, but now that I've got this car here, people are like, oh, Supernatural. So, I don't know, I guess, right? I point out the Spider Impala is the same model the hero drives in the show. She was like, really? Yep. Yeah. So now I know. Thumper saying if you're running oxygenated gasoline, aka E10, you probably won't have a problem with carbon buildup or water in the tank. So, okay. In the old days, you used to use dry gas to bond with the water that would be in the tank. and be able to burn the water that was in the tank. But if you leave E10 long enough, the alcohol, it was hygroscopic. So the hygroscopic is the wrong word for that. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. The ethanol in the gas will turn to water through whatever process. I don't know what process that is. But so I think for a period of time, yes, like fresh E10 will prevent water accumulation in the tank. But if you let the E10 sit long enough, the E part will turn to water. Does that make sense? Because that's what I need Dr. Art here for. Because I would ask him, does that make sense? And he would say, yeah. So Broke Joker, question. I have a 6.2 Camaro, runs great, and a 4.8 Silverado. How come the oil turns black faster in my Camaro than my truck does? My Camaro need more frequent oil changes. No, it just means that you're getting more fuel. The Camaro is running fat for whatever reason. It's running too rich. And so there's there's fuel getting past the rings into the oil. So that's it. Marlon Hill, was the 225 a better engine than the 170 Slants? No. The Slant was designed as a 170. It was never intended to be the 225 size. When they designed that motor, it was all based on that 170. At the last minute, the brass Chrysler executives, the bean counters, whoever, they wanted an engine that was going to replace the flathead in larger cars and light trucks. And so they made the engineers increase the size of the Slant 6 to the 225. When they did that, I read all of the papers on this that were done by the engineers as they were developing this stuff. And they actually had problems when they went to the 225 size, that oil consumption issues. It's not a happy engine. They actually have to, what did they have to do? I think they have to flip the second ring on the 225 because of the oil. I don't remember, but I read the whole thing. And there was like literally one of the engineers involved, and I don't remember his name, said that and I agree with him, the 170 is the perfect engine in every way. Okay. Yeah, obviously it's not a hot rod engine, but it was designed to be what it is. And then the 225 was an adaptation, and it's not as good as, everything, the valve size, the ports, everything is scaled to the 170 size, not the 225 size. And the 198, no, the 198. So see, the 198 was the 198 was a scam. Okay. So they had the 220, the 170 and the 225. Okay. In 1969. In 1970, they did away with the 170 because the cars had gotten just too heavy across the board to do anything viable with the 170. So rather than just make the 225 the engine, they wanted a way to charge you. They wanted an upcharge. So the way they got the upcharge was by putting a D-stroker crank in the 225 block to make the 198. It's the only reason it exists. Literally the only reason the 198 was ever built was just to upcharge you to the larger 225. That's it. And it's a bad motor. It's a torqueless wonder. It's not. The 170 is actually a stronger engine. You drive a 170 and a 198 back to back, and you can feel distinctly the difference. The 170 is stronger. KJ Kiley, what's happening, man? On a dual plane manifold, what do you think of removing the plenum divider? If you're mounting the carburetor directly to the manifold, yes, absolutely. You don't have to remove it completely. You just have to, like, for instance, on the Chrysler Direct Connection blueprint for doing that divider was just to cut it down in the center, and I forget the dimensions. But if you just trim it down in the center, because what you want is you just want balance between the two sides. So by trimming down the divider, you get that. You basically, you're creating it. I'll explain to you. You're equalizing the pulses between the two, okay, in the plenum. You don't have to go nuts. But if you run just like, say, like a 1-inch spacer between the manifold and a 1-inch open spacer, then you don't have to bother with the divider, cutting down the divider. Now, if you look at like the fast cars, the ones that run the factory appearing stock tire series, those guys take the dual plane intake manifolds, the stock dual plane intake manifolds, and they completely gut the divider. It's like this giant plenum under those carburetors. But that's like extreme. It's not necessary. I've seen the factory modifications on those divided intake manifolds, and it's just taken like the center of the divider and then bringing it down like 3/4 of an inch to an inch, and that's plenty. Spitfire Mike, I thought they did the 198 to put in the feather duster. No, the 198 came out in 1970, and they ran it until 1974. I'm not sure. 1974, the feather duster and the Dart Light both had 225s. They both had 225s. Green Bean are the fast guys, the most extreme racers you can think of. Those things are intense. Those things are intense. Those cars do the impossible every day and make it look like it's nothing. Really interesting stuff. I did a podcast with Dave Dudek. Oh God, it's got 5 or 6 years ago now. And we got really into like the nuts and bolts. He spilled his guts as much as he felt comfortable, talking about the mechanical details of his Roadrunner, which at the time was running like 970s, I think, through the stock exhaust manifolds, through the stock exhaust, through the stock size tires with the little hubcaps, and he was like deep in the 9s at that point. And we did a 2-hour podcast. And he really got into detail on what was what worked and what didn't work on that combination. The fast guys are that. So my favorite race cars. You go back to even when I was like up to my ass in nitro cars, funny car, top fuel, all that. I followed the stockers, so U and V stock automatics. Those were the ones I followed with 273 2-barrel. Coronet and Belvedere station wagons that just unbelievable. Just the performance, the numbers those guys were generating was just unbelievable. I like very limited classes. Like so for me, I see it one of two ways, right? Either let's not have any rules. Okay, here's the rule: pull the starting line, get to the other end first. There's the rule. Okay, or I want it so restrictive that the thickness of the paint is a spec. You see what I'm saying? So it's either got to me, I'm an extremist, okay? So I either want 0 rules, okay? Just let it rip and hope you don't get killed doing it, or make it so completely, utterly restrictive, you know what I mean? That you have no choice but to cheat with everything. And that makes it interesting. That makes it interesting. Christian Morgan, I once had a 64 Dart with a 170. I have a 64 Dart with a 170. It's on the side of the house, on the side of the shop over here. It was horribly sludged, so was mine. I mixed kerosene with heavy oil and drove it for about 10 miles. I changed the oil and filter. The filter was so heavy I'll never forget. Yeah, those engines used to sludge up really bad. That was the oil that they used back in the day. Well, there's a lot of factors, but yeah, those engines would sludge really, really bad. The shooter, TN Shooter 083. What's the story behind the 426 Max Wedge? Was it the reason behind the 426 Hemi? Now, the 426 Max Wedge was a 1.5 year, not even, it was like a 1 year and several months thing. So 1962, the 413 Max Wedge. 1963, they went to the bigger bore. They went to the 4.25 bore, which is the same as the 426 Hemi. And through all of 1964, or all of 1963, that was the sole race package. The 426 Hemi wasn't quite ready the beginning of the year, so they did have a handful of 1964 Max Wedge cars were built. But then once the Hemi was in production, they had worked all the bugs out of it, and the NASCAR guys, because the NASCAR guys had first crack on all of the 426 Hemi stuff. After they were all settled out, then the drag racers got the 864 was the 1964 version of it, and at that point the 426 Max Wedge was done. But basically, the 426 Max Wedge was a stepping stone between the 413 Max Wedge and the 426 Hemi. Good day, Phil Buckley. Jerry Akbar, are you drinking 7-Eleven coffee? I thought you were Italian. I am, and on top of that, I'm a former coffee house owner, and I roasted my own coffee. But it's there. It's convenient. I hit the 7-Eleven, I get my coffee. Let's see. Green Bean, thank you for the super chat. Last question before I go. Why do some basic cats get famous? Example, the old Ford Ranger. It feels like even diehard Chevy and Dodge guys love it. Oh, why did some basic cars get famous? Yes, I love the old Rangers. I had at one point, I had two of them. I had a 93. Oh God, I don't remember the years now. Okay, it's been a long time. I had a 93 4-liter 5-speed short cab, standard cab, and that was my daily for a while. And Kathy Bananas had the same year 4-cylinder 5-speed extended cab, and that was her daily for a while. They were both black and they both had gray interiors. So yes, I love those things. Those Rangers were great. Never really big on the early Dakotas. Don't really know why. The S10s, early S10s. Who doesn't love an early S10? It's like it's just awesome. I had when I moved to Tennessee, I had a slammed S10, which I really regret ever getting rid of. But why do certain ones get famous and other ones don't? They're just the right chemistry. Just the right chemistry. Everything just comes together with them. Joe K. Tony, reverse flow cooling versus traditional better design. Cooling hits the heads first. The heads are the important thing to cool. Okay, which is why you can fill blocks. Okay, like when you fill a block, if it's going to be used on the street, you go what's called a 3/4 fill. And the reason you only go for a 3/4 fill is so that there's a space to circulate water through the heads. The heads are the important part to cool, not the block. So yes, anything that cools the heads first, or primary cooling to the heads, or primary temperature control. Don't think of it as cooling. Think of it as temperature control. Maintaining a certain temperature at the cylinder heads is more important than any other aspect of the cooling system. So I don't know if I answered the question or not, but that's let's see. No, Douglas Self was talking about suits nixing plain vanilla Slant 6. Well, so the Slant was supposed to be replaced by what became the Australian. Okay, so you got the Aussie, the Hemi 6, okay, which everybody loves that. I have no experience with them, right, because they never had them here. But you've got the Australian Hemi 6. The Australian Hemi 6 was supposed to be the American replacement for the Slant 6 for 1970 or 1971, someplace in that range. And it was part of the same program as the ball stud Hemi. So the ball stud Hemi was essentially, okay, so Chrysler was revamping their engine lineup for the early 1970s, no particular year, okay, the early 1970s. So the RB, and the Hemi engines were supposed to be combined into this thing called the ball stud Hemi. And the ball stud Hemi is a big block Chevy, period, the end. It's a big block Chevy with a deep skirted block, because they didn't change the block, just the cylinder heads. Now, along those lines, at the same time, the same development people were working on a replacement for the Slant 6. And that's where the Hemi 6 that the Australians got came from. And at the last minute, I think it had something to do with emission certifications. Both the ball stud Hemi and the Hemi 6 were canceled, and Chrysler of Australia did the Hemi 6. Tao saying the 318 flat out replaced the 273 down under in 69, no overlap. So I'm thinking just in base cars. No, yeah, there was overlap for a couple of years here. Judge Fett, thank you for the super chat. 92 Daytona IROC, oil creeping up the valve covers, eating the paint. Just need new gaskets. Recommendation for better turbo than stock original is seized. Okay, I cannot give you a recommendation on a better turbo for that because I don't know. You'll have to go on the forums. There have to be IROC forums, Turbo Dodge forums, and they'll tell you which one to use and all the specs around it. Anything I say is just going to be throwing stuff at the wall. I can't give you a good answer on that. Oil creeping up the valve covers. So I think I know what you're talking about. You need to paint those valve covers have like a black wrinkle paint. Yeah, it's probably just a valve cover gasket thing. But it could also be a crankcase ventilation thing. So make sure the breather is clear. Make sure the PCV valve is working. Because either of those, you can have a good gasket, but if you don't have proper crankcase ventilation, it'll push past the gasket and you'll get that. So yeah, it's possible you need gaskets, but definitely check the crankcase breather assembly. Joe K, you go for the second gen S10s. I like the first. Hemsburg, where is the line between giving life to or restoring an old beater or letting it go? Where's the line? That's a good question. A lot of it depends on where you are in your automotive journey. Okay. Example, right? Scribbles. So Scribbles if you're not familiar, it was a 65 Cuda that I picked up about 3-4 months ago now, and we did a whole series of videos on getting it running and working through some of the bugs that it had and so on and so forth. Now, In the old days, a car like that, I would have been all over. Okay, like I couldn't keep my hands off the thing, and I would be fixing rust, and I'd be going nuts trying to make things nice in the interior and so on and so forth. I'd be going around the car, taking care of all of its little things. But now, since I've been there, done it, got the T-shirt, I'm not so enthusiastic about it. I want to be enthusiastic about it, but I'm just not driven to do it. And also, I've got other cars too. So it's not like, my whole hobby is based on that one car. So the question about what's the line between giving life to restoring an old beat or letting it go is if it doesn't excite you, right? If you're not motivated, if you don't automatically look at it and say, oh, I got to fix that. Oh, and you can't keep your hands off it, and you're always hunting for parts for it. If it happens automatically, you're doing it naturally, then yeah, there's no limit to what you can restore. There's no limit to what you can do. We've brought back cars. I mean, you got to see some of these cars that we've got and what they started out as. There's no limit. When that's the case, yeah, everything you do is worth it because it's the journey. It's the journey. That's how you end up with it. It's the getting there. That's where the fun is. And if not, then let it go. Pass it on to the next guy who will love it, who will be enthusiastic about it, and who will dive all over it because one man's trash is another man's treasure. And, that's how you got to look at it. But whatever you do, don't ever do this stuff for money. I'll tell you that right now. All right, you get into a car project and you say, I am going to make money off this. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and I'm going to flip this thing and make a profit. Just don't, because it is. I know, and we've shown this time and time again on this channel. It is impossible to do a quality job on a car, where everything is right, everything's up to snuff, everything looks good, functions well, there's no hidden anything, no corners cut. It's impossible to do that and flip that to the next person for a profit, right? Or even really to break even. So keep that in mind. Flippers equals cheaters. Yeah. Jamie is in the house. Dead Dodge Garage. What's happening, man? Notice this engine actually still has the engine mount ears on the passenger side, but they aren't drilled. Yes. So you're talking about your 426 Hemi. Yes. The vast majority of them, I was machining off the ears. Okay, so if you notice, if you look at the driver's side of the motor, you'll see the flat spots where the ears were cast in there originally, okay? There was a step that they had to take to machine those ears off. And on the passenger side, they left the ears, but they didn't drill them. It was another step that they were going to save. And the reason they did that is because on the driver's side, the exhaust port, or the exhaust manifold, right, literally comes down where the ear would be, okay, where that one ear is. So what they did was they just machined all three ears, right, or the two ears and the two lugs and the one. They just sliced those off on the driver's side, but they left them undrilled on the passenger side. Let me see here. Be by the garage. Hey, Tony, what kind of plastic bottle is that you use to squirt gas out of to prime carbs? So 40 years ago, when I first started skirting out with nitro cars, the thing to use was these Amway squirt bottles, okay? Hang on, I'll go get it. So when I started with nitro cars, this was the standard thing, okay? Some guys use like mustard containers and they fill them with gasoline to start the car, but most guys use these Amway containers. So back then, let me see here now. It'd be about 1990, just about 1990 or so. My tenant, the woman who lived down, Linda Lo Cicero, who is an Amway dealer, and I told her, get me a case of these bottles. So she got me a case. There was however many in a case. There was like 60 of them. I don't even remember. And I went through them. I gave them to all my friends, obviously, because you need to have your squirt bottle, right? And I eventually ran out of them. Okay, so my friend John Wilburn, who used to be a mod here, he's the guy that runs the No Name Nationals. When I said I'm out of squirt bottles, I just used my last squirt bottle because it was I think it caught fire. I was squirting something that backfired and it caught fire, and that was it. It was like the last of my squirt bottles. So he went out and he got me a box of these. He found a box of them. So I still have like, I don't know, like 8 or 10 of these back at the house in a box, brand new. And I've got a few of them scattered here or there. But yeah, once you get used to using these squirt bottles, oh boy, just nothing else will work. Nothing else will do the trick. And not that many of you guys are going to screw around with fuel cars, but what I found was, so the standard size orifice on here, okay, if you fill the bottle, okay, use the standard size orifice, and you're taking a blown 426 Hemi from dead cold to warm enough to throw on the nitro, to switch over to nitro. Well, if you fill the bottle with gasoline and you give it a steady squirt like that, I'm squirting all over my shop just to show you, okay? When you get to the bottom of this, the engine is warm enough that you can reach down, turn on the fuel, and cackle. So yeah, that's it. Amway squirt bottles. These things are just awesome. Everybody should have one. 2. You need 2 because sometimes they catch fire. And that place smells like gasoline. I'm such an asshole. Shoehorn Jackson. I know of a successful dentist that when he retired, he started restoring cars and lost his shirt. Robert Bray, did you have a transmission in my race car? My fuel altered. I had a 2-speed, yes, but at the same time, I was partners on a top fuel dragster, and that was high gear only. Joe K is saying I should buy those in bulk, rebrand them with UTG, and sell them on your website. I probably should. But I'm telling you, if you get used to using these, see, I always keep one full of gas on the workbench because you need to clean the oil off of something real quick. Or even let's say, okay, you're working on something that you're doing a transmission and you got transmission fluid all over your hands and it's all crazy and you can't touch anything. You take this, you flip it open, you give your hands a quick, you know what I mean? And you hit them with a paper towel and instant clean. You know what I mean? So like these are just completely irreplaceable. Always good to have a squirt bottle full of gasoline at your work area. Gas is a great cleaner. It works better than anything else. Alan Shildroth, wear gloves. I'm not one of them alternative lifestyle people, man. I got to tell you. You know what I mean? It's, in my world, boys are boys, girls are girls. Mechanics don't wear gloves. Yes, but don't use it to wash your hands. My dude, I've been washing my hands with gasoline since I'm like 14 friggin' years old, right? I'm fine. I mean, all good, all good. I made it to 62. Jake, I like the Impala revival content. Honestly, I'm enjoying it too. I'm enjoying it too. So here's the thing. I didn't want to do one 30-minute long video because I knew it was going to take at least a half hour, 45 minutes to do a video with this. And I didn't think it would really get views. So I figured, let me break it down to like really small bite size, like 10-minute long segments. And that's what I did. That's why I did it like that. So, but I enjoyed it a lot. But I said it before. Okay, I said it before. There's after I shot it, I talked to the owner, and there's a surprise. Okay, I gotta go look. I gotta look at some stuff tomorrow. But you haven't seen the end of that car yet. You haven't seen the end of that car yet. I wear gloves when it's 28 degrees outside. Okay, I wear gloves when it's cold and I'm on my motorcycle. Yes, because cold, right? I wear fire gloves if I got to drive something that's possibly catching fire. I got no problem wearing fire gloves. But to work on cars, I don't want to get my hands dirty. Come on. Tiki, what's your thoughts on warming up cars in the winter? Do you need to? With modern fuel injected cars, you don't need to. You can jump in, turn the key, and go. But that's not saying that's the best way to do it. Giving the thing a minute, or just even like 30 seconds or so, just to like get its stuff together, get a little oil where oil's got to be. Because remember, when it's cold, the oil is thick; it doesn't want to flow through things. So giving it a few seconds to fire up and is not a bad idea. For a carbureted car, it's a necessity. Dead Dodge Garage. I started. Oh, Jamie, you wear gloves. Oh yeah, you do wear gloves. I'm sorry. I started wearing gloves because washing my hands with a lava soap 1,000 times a day to switch to writing estimates and such at the shop turned my hands to raw hamburger. Why would you do that, bro? When I had my shops and I was writing estimates and stuff, they grease all over the freaking place. The first thing I do is before I go into the office to wash to write anything, you take your squirt bottle and you give your hands a quick zip with gasoline. You grab a rag, you go like this, and then you go in and you write your freaking estimate. Firefly leaves very tiny fly prints. Dawn dish soap. Kathy, Uncle Kathy Bananas turned me on to the Dawn dish soap. I had always been buying all these different cleaners and solvents and hand cleaners. Dawn dish soap is the best hand cleaner there is. Period. The end. And Zero just put up a link to Dead Dodge Garage, the best Mopar channel in all of YouTube, even if he wears gloves. I'm not going to hold that against him. He's a young guy. They're a little soft. I get it. He's still the best YouTube channel and the best Mopar channel on all of YouTube. So go over there and sub to Jamie. Show the man some love. 3-Team Magnum, with your sense of humor, it's funny you didn't get The Simpsons. I used to love The Simpsons. 30 years ago. They were funny. Was it 30 years ago? Not quite. Like 25 years ago. It was funny. It was cool. But, it's just like they keep going and going and going. It's like things run their course. Stuff should be like Seinfeld was a perfect example where they just quit at the top of their game. You know what I mean? That's it. Okay. You did it. Right now, just stop, right? We were just talking about that with Top Gear and the Grand Tour. It's like they just ran the last part of the Grand Tour and just like nobody cared, right? And that was the kind of thing where they should have gotten together, right? They should have done one season of the Grand Tour, just like this to the BBC, and people would have loved it. It would have been they would have gone out at the top of their game, and everything would have been awesome. But they kept dragging it on and doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again. So it's the same thing like The Simpsons. The Stonecutters episode, yeah, Zero. Barry Cooder, the last Seinfeld was terrible. No, I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was pretty good. Like, who could have seen that coming, right? But it's not just that they did the last episode. They quit while they were on top. You know what I mean? You want to quit while you're on top. Thumper didn't find Seinfeld funny, probably because you're not from that environment. Mexican spec set in New York and filmed in LA. No, the soup Nazi. That was the greatest. Yeah, the soup Nazi. Yeah, Nebraska. A Nebraska farm guy is going to have a hard time relating to a group of people who live in New York City. And to be honest with you, I didn't really get The Simpsons, and I didn't really get The King of the Hill until I moved from New York to Tennessee. And then once I got to Tennessee, like those shows had a whole different thing, because like here in Murfreesboro, when I moved here, like we were living The Simpsons. It was like, all of the characters, everything was like it was The Simpsons. And The King of the Hill too, No cupcake for you. Yeah, that whole thing with Whoopi Goldberg. That's that's Holterman's bakery, that's where I'm from. Like Holterman's was like our local bakery. So yeah, I know that. That's such a small world with this stuff, right? So yeah, Whoopi Goldberg went to war with my local bakery back there in Staten Island. You guys are quoting the soup Nazi. Uh, VW Manx man from Manx just got some more silver in the mail. Congratulations, bro. Keep stacking. Keep stacking. You're stacking for the collapse. Bro, even if it doesn't collapse, you're going to do good. Trust me, you're going to do good. Manx, I've been playing with crypto for the last few months, right? Not in like, it's just because I feel that I've done enough as far as stacking goes, and I want to play with other things just to play with them. So I've been playing with crypto for the last couple of months, and woof, things are really crazy. So I have zero faith in crypto in the long term. I know that it's a Ponzi scheme. I know there's going to be a rug pull. I know it has nothing to do. It doesn't have any of the fundamentals that, let's say, precious metals have. But man, is it a fun ride. So you might want to look at that too. Just be ready. Like, don't put any money in crypto that you wouldn't be willing to just like leave at the crap table. You know what I'm saying? Bill Shredder, do you think us mechanics will become like the soup Nazi? Already are. They already are. And it's only going to get worse. Tiki, do I like to gamble? It just depends. It depends. I like to gamble on things that I have control over the outcome. I don't gamble on stuff. I don't like to gamble on things that other people are in control of. You know, like the Tyson fight. Okay, so now I watched. What does that have to do with tech, right? But we might as well talk about it because we're all interested in it, right? Everybody want to see the Tyson fight, right? And I was a huge Tyson fan back when he was like, Iron Mike. Okay, that was like, and I lost a lot of money on a Tyson fight, but that's besides the point. It's nothing to do with this. So talk about conspiracies, okay? So Netflix had all kinds of outages during the fight. So God only knows how much money that was in circulation, in flux during this whole period of time, okay? So no, I didn't bet against Iron Mike. I lost because I bet on him. I forget which fight it was. No, I bet on Tyson. But so at any rate, okay. So very few people got to actually watch the fight as it happened because there were so many outages. It was all crazy outages. And I watched the fight. Okay, so Kathy Bananas found it. Somebody was streaming the fight, and the way they did it was they put a mirror on their couch, okay, and they shot the mirror, and so they technically weren't streaming the fight; they were streaming their mirror, and the fight just happened to be on the mirror. So that's how I watched the fight. That's how I saw it, okay, and I couldn't see it really close. So I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, because you can only see so much. You really couldn't see details. All right. So I watched the fight. It was inconclusive. I was a little disappointed. All right. And I would have sworn Tyson would have destroyed him. Okay. I just saw a clip. Was it yesterday or today? I just saw a clip. And you can probably find this, right? Where Jake Paul is wide open. Okay. Wide open. All right. Tyson leans in for the kill shot, okay? Wide open. Tyson leans in for the kill shot, starts to move his hand, and then stops. He threw the fight. Now, I don't know what round that was. After seeing that, I have no question in my mind that was a scam. That was a setup. Mexican Spec is saying the exit poll said it was rigged and they were not happy. Well, I'm telling you, find that clip. Find that clip because it was. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating one bit. Okay, if I was there in Tyson's place, okay, and there was that position, that moment in time, I could have taken out Jake Paul. His hand come up like this. Okay, it was on its way, and then he stopped. And you clearly see the momentum is there. He's gonna throw it. He's gonna throw it. Okay, and then his hand goes down like this. He was wide open, wide open. So yeah, it was a scam. It was a scam. He wasn't allowed to uppercut, but that's Tyson's shot is the uppercut. How do you not allow Tyson to uppercut? That's his thing. How many times he would step right up, boom, and it's over. It's over. I miss those days. Those fights were awesome. All right, let's not. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Autumn Jesrich. Autumn, just want to say thank you for your engine build series. You're quite welcome, Autumn. Lots of good tips for me when I did my backyard engine rebuilds for my LS truck motor. It spun 4 rods on the main. It runs great now. Congratulations and thank you. His contract said so. I don't know. I don't know. But that wasn't. It wasn't an uppercut he was going to throw. He was far. He was too far for any type of uppercut. That was going to be a. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But he had a glimpse of his contract. Okay. Camping outdoors. One thing everyone missed: Tyson had a knee brace on his right knee. That's why he pulled the punch. Had he thrown through, his knee would have gave out. Already missed that. Who cared? What would it matter? What would it matter? That was the death blow. That was it. The fight was going to be over. Who cares if his freaking knee? He wouldn't care if his knee gave out. When you're in a fight. Have you ever been in a fight? You thinking about the condition of other parts of your body, or you just focused on your opponent, right? He wasn't thinking that. He pulled that punch. It wouldn't have mattered. That would have ended the fight. Period. The end. That would have been the end. Who cares if you had to be carried off? You know what I'm saying? No bullshit. Knee brace. Broke Joker, what's the fastest you've ever gone and what was it in? Fastest I've ever gone? Mission Improbable. 9:35 in the 8th mile. I don't know why anybody would ever want to go quicker than that. That's pretty crazy. Shadow Ops Airman 1. I guess to check for vacuum leaks in an intake on an automobile, in particular the plastic ones, you still use a carburetor cleaner like you do in the old days. Am I correct? Yes. Yeah, only I use the perfect leak detector. You just take this and squirt a little stream of gas at whatever area you think might be leaking, and there you go. It's a lot cheaper than carb cleaner. Earlobes case tastes like cabbage. That's interesting. Spread the floor again now. Grease Belly Garage has a 94 XJ 2-door 5-speed 4-liter, and the damn thing is torquey. Yeah, it is. So the fastest you've gone is in a Ford? No, in a Jeep. Fastest I've ever gone is in a Jeep. Jaguar. Oh, you guys see this thing what's going on with Jaguar? That's crazy. Tiki, what does bottle rocker run on a quarter mile? Should be able to go in the 15s, I think. Fubar just put up a link to my merch. Thank you, Fubar. Our shirts, and I don't even know what I'm wearing tonight, but that shirt, whatever that shirt that is, we've got that, and our hats, and stickers, and mugs, and oh man, all kinds of things over there at the link that Fubar just put up there, UncleTony'sGarage.com. And yeah, work Kathy Bananas to death. Let her have it, okay? She's had this life of leisure for so long. Just put it to her. Go over there and order stuff and just wear her out. Grease Belly Garage. I thought I was decent at working on cars until a Bosch Cagetronic fuel injection system kicked my butt. The first one that got me was a Volvo. It was probably in like the middle 1980s. And I forget, it was a Bosch system, but I forget which one. But that thing had issues that really stumped me. The Lambda Sond. You couldn't get information. It wasn't, you guys today, right? You younger guys today, or anybody who's been around as a mechanic for the last 25 years, you guys don't have any idea how easy you've got it. Even the hard work, even the stuff that's like a real bitch, real head scratchers and stuff, you don't know how easy you have it. Because you go back to the 1980s, like the early 1980s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have forums. We didn't have any place that we could ask questions or find quick diagrams or read through, forum posts where people had similar problems and all of the ideas and whatnot. We didn't have quick schematics at our fingertips. We had to hunt for this information. We had to stress it every friggin' day. And you guys today, you have no idea how easy you've got it. Broke Joker, will we see the 67 Charger again? Yeah, we will. Tools and truck. How much would I gain if I add an MSD box to my 360 Magnum 25? Nothing. You're not going to see any increase. The MSD box, the multiple spark discharge, is an aid for low vacuum fat running situation. So in other words, okay, you've got a typical hot rod type of engine, right? So big cam, low vacuum, weird carburation, right? So it'll tend to run fat at low speeds, at low RPM, okay? That's where the MSD, the multiple spark part of the MSD means multiple spark discharge. So at less than 3,000 RPM or thereabouts, it fires a spark plug multiple times for every cycle, okay? And then after that, it just fires it normally. It's just a standard capacitive discharge ignition. But if you've just got a basically stock engine, or one that doesn't have an issue where it fouls plugs at low speeds and that sort of thing, you will find no advantage at all to an MSD. It won't do anything for you. Tiki, I like learning without the internet. It's a better learning experience. No, I'm not going to say. I would disagree with you. There's so many more perspectives that you get exposed to now that you didn't have before, and a lot of it is noise. I get that. There's a lot of know-it-alls, and there's a lot of people throw out some pretty extraneous and pretty outrageous stuff, right? But the number of perspectives, mechanical perspectives that you come across, let's say when you're searching a problem and you're going through forums and Reddit and all these other things, You can find some really interesting stuff out there, and it'll help get those wheels turning in ways that we didn't have back in the day. Mark Sauvé is saying, as long as you're getting advice from the right people. Well, you have to learn how to filter that out. You have to have a basic foundation of knowledge before you can really dive in there, or it makes it even worse. But you know what I'm saying. Shadow up, so it's a wasted spark system. No, wasted spark is when the spark plug fires at top dead center compression stroke like it's supposed to, and then it'll fire again at top dead center exhaust when both the intake and the exhaust valves are open. And it's a wasted spark, but it's also partially an emissions thing because there are parts of the mixture that are unburned that could get lit under certain circumstances by the plug during that firing at top dead center exhaust. But that's what wasted spark is. Shadow Ops still prefers hard copy manuals. I still refer back to manuals. I still do it, because you can't remember every spec. You know what I mean? You're going through a transmission. You can't remember the pack clearance on, in every, right? See what I'm saying? So the hard manuals are good. Those things are going to be accurate. You don't have to filter. Oh, does this make sense or does this not make sense? So yes, I agree with you. Hard manuals are always good. All data. I remember all data. I had that. Joe K, wouldn't that lead to backfire? No, backfire happens when you have an air leak in the exhaust. So what will happen is the unburned gases that might be caught by the wasted spark, the unburned gases mix with oxygen from an exhaust. Because remember now, as the exhaust goes through the tube or the exhaust system, it's pulling a vacuum behind. And if there's an air leak, so what's happening is you'll hear an exhaust pulse come through an exhaust, like a hole in the exhaust. Let's say you got a pinhole in the exhaust. You'll hear the exhaust go through the hole, but in between the out, it's actually inhaling too. So inhale some fresh air. The fresh air finds the fuel that wasn't burned during that cycle, and then it's lit just in the heat. The latent heat that's in the exhaust will fire, and that's where you get backfires from. One-eyed cat, what's happening, man? Long live the road toad. Yes. Grease Belly Garage, the glorious Ford Lincoln EQ1 from the early 80s gave me PTSD. What was the most common problem, Grease Belly? What was the common problem until people figured it out? Were driving absolutely out of their mind. What was it? Shadow Ops. Uncle Tony, being an A&P mechanic, I have my manual open. I mainly use it for torque specs. Now, if I haven't done it for something like a year, I refer to it. Yeah, same here. Same here. Grease Belly. No, bro, it was the ground pigtail. And it was the same thing. Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. EQ1. Scratch that. I'm thinking about the 3 and 4 that had a pigtail by the battery cable, behind the battery, the ground pigtail that would go bad. Zayden Bortz, can a thermostat cause backfire? Like if the thermostat was bad, or is that a different situation? No, a thermostat will cause it to run hot or not reach operating temperature. The thermostat only controls the engine operating temperature. It has nothing to do with the firing sequence and the sealing of the cylinders and all the other things that could cause a backfire. Let's see. Thumper doesn't need manuals. He knows everything and he is infallible. The Cadillac 468. I remember those. Hunter Callan, have you seen the new Jaguar Edge? Yeah, man, I have. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. All I know is that around the world, there's right now there are thousands, tens of probably close to 100,000 proud Jaguar owners. You know what I mean? Like proud Jaguar owners. And if I had one, I would be proud of it. Okay, you know, some Jags are really special. Okay, but those poor guys, I feel so bad for them. You know, I feel bad for them because you know what I mean. It's just like, what have you done to my brand? Uh, Firefly, the 468 computer was weird, had two PROM chips. There were a couple of different versions of that. Mark Sauvé, don't you love people that lie just to look like they know more than you and argue? Oh, please. It happens to me all the time. It happens to me all the time. My favorite one is when people will argue with me about videos that I did and they don't know that I did them, right? Like, because you know, during the course of doing what I do, you put information out into the world that you know you're the guy that put it out there because you haven't seen anybody else talk about it, or it's a special niche that you have, right? And then it'll come back to you and somebody will be like parroting words that you said and they don't know that you're the guy that actually said them. It's crazy. It's being me is a very weird situation. Hunter Callan, I own a vintage Jag, an 87 XJ12. Oh, it's a cool car. Very cool car. Dude, Hunter, how, as a Jaguar guy, how do you handle in this? Scoop has driven every car on the planet up to 1994, including the Alante, Ferrari, and Pantera. Congratulations. Wildfly's not a fan of the Jaguar servicing. Yeah, I know. I've worked on a few of them. Yeah, no. Grease belly Mexican spec. You can get the automatic really cheap and use a 4-cylinder T5. The 4-cylinder T5 has a deeper first gear. It's actually for drag racing. It's a better transmission. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about here, but that's okay because I'm getting ready to wrap it up anyway. Yeah, I'd use a smaller pilot bushing. Yep. Ford Contour. All right, guys, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and I'm all talked out. Usually, I've got Dr. Art, the lovely Dr. Art. We missed each other tonight, but he'll be back next Wednesday, I'm sure. So I'm going to pull a plug on this. Like I said, the purple Chevy, we're not quite done with that yet. There's some interesting. It'll be a couple of days before we talk about it, but there's some very interesting things going to happen to that car. So we're not done with that yet. So I'm going to pull a plug on this. Mods, Mexican spec. Thank you again for the tag. This is awesome, man. Zero, Fubar, the guys. Thank you so much. What else? What is there now? Everybody contributed super chat. Thank you. Never expected, but always appreciated. And everybody contributed with just your presence and your conversation. Thank you guys. I am eternally grateful for you clicking on my stuff and allowing me to do this. You know, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and you guys made it that way. So that's it, right? I'm done. I'll see you guys on Sunday night with Uncle Kathy Bananas. Good night, all.